last fairy of the dying forest, an eerie ASMR fable. There are places in this world that disappear long before anyone notices they are gone, not because they are destroyed, not because they are forgotten, but because slowly, quietly, they begin to fade. Beyond the old roads, beyond the villages where warm lanterns still glow in the windows, there is a forest that no longer appears on any map. A forest of ancient trees and endless shadows. A place where the wind moves differently, where the branches seem to whisper forgotten names, where the flowers bloom only beneath moonlight, and where something beneath the roots has been waiting for centuries. Long ago, people called it the Enchanted Forest. They said it was a place of wonder, a place where fairies danced among the flowers, where rivers carried songs from distant lands, and where the trees protected every creature that lived beneath their leaves. But those stories belong to another age, an age when people still believed magic was something beautiful. Now the forest was known by another name, the Dying Woods, a place where birds no longer sang, where flowers no longer opened, and where anyone brave enough to enter would eventually lose their way. I found the forest during the final days of winter. The journey had already taken many weeks. I had crossed empty fields, forgotten villages, and roads that had not seen another traveller for years. I was searching for something I could not explain. Perhaps it was curiosity, perhaps it was something else. Some places call to you before you ever see them, and this forest had been calling for a very long time. When I finally reached its edge, I knew immediately why people feared it. The trees stood impossibly tall, their branches twisting together above me like a dark ceiling. Their bark was cracked and grey, their roots crawled across the ground like ancient bones. The air was colder there, not the cold of winter, but the cold of something forgotten. I stood at the entrance for a long time. Every instinct told me to turn around, but then I saw it, a small golden light moving between the trees. It flickered softly in the darkness, a single glow, a silent invitation, and before I could understand why, I followed it. The deeper I travelled, the quieter the world became. The sounds of civilization disappeared behind me. No footsteps, no voices, no distant animals, only the sound of the wind passing through the dead branches. Yet somehow, I did not feel alone. The forest watched me. I could feel it, every tree, every shadow, every hidden creature beneath the earth. As I walked, I began noticing strange things. A small flower growing from a fallen tree, a stream flowing beneath frozen soil, tiny symbols carved into ancient bark. They were everywhere, hundreds of them, almost as if the entire forest had once been covered in messages, warnings left behind by those who were no longer there. Eventually, I reached a clearing, and there, beneath the pale light of the moon, stood the oldest tree I had ever seen, its roots spread across the ground like the walls of a forgotten kingdom. Its branches disappeared into the darkness above, but unlike the others, this tree was still alive, barely. Among its dying branches grew a single silver flower, a flower that glowed like a tiny star. I stepped closer, and then I heard a voice, a whisper, so quiet I almost believed I imagined it. Please. I stopped. The voice came again. Please, do not let it find me. I looked around the clearing. There was nobody there, only the ancient tree, only the silver flower. Then I noticed something beneath the roots, a small figure hidden in the shadows. At first, I thought it was a child, but as the moonlight touched her face, I realized the truth. She was not human. She was small and fragile, with long silver hair flowing around her like strands of moonlight. Her wings rested behind her. They must have once been magnificent, but now they were cracked and broken, faded like a memory. She looked at me with tired blue eyes, eyes that carried centuries of sadness. She was a fairy, the last fairy. "You should not have come here," she whispered. I asked her why. She looked toward the darkness between the trees. "The forest is dying," she said, "not because winter came, not because humans stopped believing." She lowered her gaze. "It is dying because something beneath it is waking." I looked toward the roots beneath the ancient tree. "What is beneath the forest?" The fairy was silent for a moment. Then she answered, "The thing that was here before the trees." Long ago, she told me, the forest was not protected by fairies. The fairies were protecting the world from something hidden below, a darkness older than kingdoms, older than humans, something that fed on magic. When the first trees grew, their roots trapped it deep beneath the earth. The fairies used their magic to keep it asleep. For thousands of years, they watched over the forest. But time changed everything. Humans stopped visiting. The old songs were forgotten. The magic slowly disappeared. One by one, the fairies vanished, until only she remained. "I have kept it asleep for many years," she said, "but I am the last one." She looked at her broken wings. "My magic is almost gone." That night, she showed me what remained of her world. Hidden beneath the forest were the ruins of an ancient fairy kingdom, tiny homes carved into tree roots, empty gardens filled with dead flowers, broken lanterns hanging from branches, places where laughter once filled the air. Now they were silent, a kingdom abandoned by time. The fairy walked slowly through the ruins. She touched the walls of the forgotten homes. "They believed we would always be here," she whispered, "but nothing lasts forever." I asked her why she had not left. She looked back at me. "Because someone had to remember." As the night grew darker, the forest began to change. The wind stopped. The trees became still. Then came the sound, a deep rumbling beneath the ground. The roots moved. The earth cracked. The fairy stepped back. Fear appeared in her eyes for the first time. "It knows you are here." I asked what she meant. She looked at me sadly. "It was never searching for me." A silence filled the forest. It was searching for someone who could hear it. The ground beneath the ancient tree began to split. From the darkness below came a sound unlike anything I had ever heard. Not a roar, not a voice, something worse. A whisper, 1,000 whispers together. The fairy grabbed my hand. "We must leave." But as we ran through the forest, I realized something strange. The trees were no longer blocking our path. They were guiding us. The forest was helping us escape. Or perhaps it was leading us somewhere. We reached the edge of the woods as the first light of dawn appeared. The fairy stopped beside the trees. She looked back at the forest. Then she looked at me. "You think you saved me," she said softly, "but you do not understand." I asked what she meant. A faint smile appeared on her face. "The forest does not choose people who can save it. It chooses people who can replace it." Before I could answer, the fairy stepped backward into the mist. Her wings began to glow. The cracks disappeared. The forest around her slowly awakened. Flowers began opening. The trees began moving. For the first time in centuries, the forest was alive, but the fairy was gone. I returned to the village and told everyone what I had found. They laughed. They said the forest was empty. They said fairies were only stories. They said I'd been lost too long. So I stopped telling them. because some things are not meant to be believed, only remembered. Years passed, and eventually I returned to the forest, but something was different. The trees were taller, the flowers were brighter, and deep within the woods I saw a golden light, just like the one that first led me there. I followed it, and beneath the oldest tree I found a small silver flower. Beside it was a tiny set of footprints, not human footprints, fairy footprints, and carved into the bark of the tree were 4 simple words, words that made my heart stop. Thank you for returning. Some say the forest was saved that night. Some say the last fairy still watches over the trees, but others believe something else happened. They believe the fairy did not disappear. She simply became part of the forest, and somewhere beneath the roots, beneath the flowers, beneath the whispering leaves, she is still waiting, waiting for the next person brave enough to follow the light, because every forest has a secret, every shadow hides a story, and sometimes the things we are searching for us too. The end. Thank you for listening to Eerie ASMR Fables. If you enjoyed tonight's journey into the Forgotten Forest, consider subscribing and joining me for more dark fairy tales, mysterious legends, and whispered stories from worlds hidden between dreams and nightmares. Until the next tale, sleep peacefully, and remember, not every story hidden in the darkness is meant to be found.